Thanks very much for your questions. Here's a few more answers. So first of all, Nathan asks, do you think that accepting Tories into the Labour Party because of their own internal battles is a bit hypocritical? No, I completely and utterly disagree with you. This is about Dan Poulter, a Tory MP who's a GP, doctor, working in the NHS, who's decided to join the Labour Party. Look, the truth is, if we want to be a government for the whole of the United Kingdom, we've got to take the whole of the country with us. And not just some narrow party tribal thing. We've got to be a government for the whole country. And I think it's brilliant if some people have completely changed their minds. Of course, if they join the Labour Party, they've got to sign up to what we believe in. Of course, it means sometimes that they voted for terrible things in the past, but I note that Dan Poulter is not standing in the general election. We've already got a really good Labour candidate in that seat, and we're fighting to persuade people, as many people in the country, to vote Labour, because we've had 14 years of the Tories and it's time to get rid of them. It's not hypocritical. It's just part of being wanting to be a government is that you take the whole of the country with you, and that means you've got to persuade people who previously voted in a different way, including even Conservative members of Parliament. Greg, he asks about employment in the Rhondda and the big problems we got, of course, with UK doors and windows closing. That was a really big blow. I worked really hard to try and get as much support for the individuals there and make sure that they got the money that they were entitled to. And over the last few days, I've been working very closely with both the administrators and the Welsh Government and others to see whether there's a way of keeping the Everest 2020 factory at Intraherbert open. It's 96 jobs there, 7 jobs in Llantris, and I really hope that, it's kind of cross fingers time. There is a possibility that we might be able to keep it open. I really hope we can. It is tough. Lots of businesses have really struggled under the cost of living crisis over the last few years. Cost of running offices and heating and all the rest of it has been tough. But we do need to make sure that we get more high quality jobs into the Rhondda itself, and not just everybody always having to commute all over the place. That's why I'm trying to fight my hardest to keep Everest. James, you ask about, will you push for any Wales rugby and football team games to be shown only on free-to-air television? Well, some are, of course, and I think more should be. It's a really important principle that the value of many sporting games is created by the fans, not by the broadcasters. So I think it's really important that fans have an opportunity to see especially highlights, but if not highlights, then whole matches as well on free-to-air television. And that's part of the ongoing change that the government's looking at the moment, and we would look at if we were in government as well. The danger is, of course, you don't want the teams to lose out on broadcasting rights if they're not able to sell them to the highest bidder, and that's the battle you always end up in. Robert asks, how will Labour build integrity in politics, and worries about putting trust back into a political system when politicians seem to be above the law? Well, absolutely, that was the problem with Boris Johnson, wasn't it? And it seemed to me a particular irony that Boris Johnson, who introduced the law that you had to have photo ID to go and vote, when he turned up to vote in the elections on Thursday, didn't have photo ID himself. I don't know, does he always think that he's above the law in some way? Look, I think we need a new broom in Parliament. We need a new set of people in Parliament. I think we've got to have a general election. We've got to press the reset button so that the kind of people who come in are people who are really dedicated to public service and doing the right thing for their community. I think some of the rules need to change. I've argued for this for quite a long time. I think we need much tougher rules on conflicts of interest between your own personal financial interest and the public interest. And if you ever have a conflict, you should always resolve that interest in the public interest, not in your own private interest. That's why so many Tory MPs have been chucked out, including the MP for Blackpool South, the Tory MP for Blackpool South, who was, of course, trying to effectively sell himself to lobbyists. I think we need a new integrity commission to bring together all the different bodies that regulate MPs, stop the sort of circular roundabout between MPs having ministerial jobs and then going on into businesses where they have a conflict of interest. But I think one of the major differences between Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak is. Rishi Sunak arrived in Downing Street saying he was going to lead a government of integrity and professionalism. Well, you haven't seen that. Keir Starmer, remember when there were questions about his integrity, he said that if the police found anything against him, he would resign. That's the kind of quality of man he is.